Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here with you this morning. It's a perfect weather, by the way. So I'm not mad about that either. But it is a wonder and a mystery that our paths have crossed. That in the immensity of time, in the vastness of space, we coincide here. I am in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we can create when we gather. May our coming together makes us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our eyes, our hearts, and minds be open to this offering. I'm so glad you are here. Let us worship. Let us marvel at the miracle of being here right now and the mystery that has brought us together.
Please rise and body your spirit to sing our opening hymn today, Love Will Guide Us, number 131 in the gray hymnal. And now we invite Kay up to speak a bit about stewardship.
Hello, I'm Kay Sanderson. I use her, she. And my first thought about when I was asked to talk about stewardship, what exactly is stewardship? So we know that it kind of means taking care of something that we care for, but it's a little bit more than that. It's not just taking care of it so it continues to be the same, the status quo. It means taking care of something we love, i.e. this congregation, the building, the people, the whole package. We want to take care of it in a way that it continues to grow, which means supporting the kids programs, supporting maintenance of solar panels, whatever comes to mind to keep something growing in perpetuity for our kids and for generations later. So I happen to be almost a lifelong Unitarian. That's a topic for another time, how I became Unitarian, because I got kicked out of the Methodist Sunday school. I'm kind of happy about it, but that's for later. So if you're like I am, you weren't exactly clear on what stewardship is, I decided to look up some explanations on the internet. So there are moral values to stewardship. And here's one that says, stewardship is an ethical value that embodies the responsible planning and management of resources. So when we think about our resources, we have our people and our music program, our children's education program, which right now it could use a little TLC, and our people in the office. Anyway, there are a lot of aspects to that. Once you start thinking, you realize more and more and more could use some love and attention. And just like the words to the hymn we just sang, love will guide us. And sometimes we just forget to think about taking care of something. We might take it for granted, and that's kind of dangerous because pretty soon, if we just let things stay the same, they might disappear. We don't want that. So another idea about stewardship was careful and responsible management of something entrusted to us. So when we decide to become members, we kind of take on a little bit of responsibility. It doesn't mean that you have to give more than what you're able to give. For instance, I give in ways that some people may not give. I can play music sometimes, and that's helpful, but I'm not really rich. Okay. And accountability doesn't imply that you have to stretch any farther than you can really reasonably stretch. I did double my pledge this year, and I kind of took a gulp. But I was reading in the UUA guidelines of what is our fair share of giving, and I realized I was kind of not quite hitting the mark. So I thought, I'm going to step up a little bit. Reasons for stewardship. I already talked about it. It's proportionate to what we can give, but I happen to really love this group of people. The building, it has a few little drawbacks. The parking lot's kind of lumpy, and, there are things that we can work on to improve with more appropriate stewardship. And I've just been here a long time, and I've created some long-lasting friendships. I'm seeing some people in here who have been here almost as long as I have. I think I joined in 83 or something like that. And it's just a place that feels like home. The character of the organization is something that I thought about. We want to meet needs of people, for instance, reaching out if they haven't shown up for services for a while. We want to find out, are you okay? Yeah, look in on them. Social needs, maybe someone is needing housing, that kind of thing. We can help out in whatever way we can, point to social groups that can help them. And another part of it is the gratitude. I feel very happy that I can give, but also I'm gratitude for what I get back that's not something tangible. I'm starting to get emotional. Anyway, like I've helped out at Camp de Benneville a number of times. I started when I was about 11. We were one of the first Thanksgiving camps to ever do maintenance at Camp de Benneville when I was 11. So I'm old. So anyway, I have just a lot of gratitude for the people here. I don't even need this. And I just feel like this is a home, and I feel like I'm giving what I can. And I hope that other people will kind of take to heart what it really means to you to be part of this group. And it's like family. Thank you.
Maybe? Yes. There we go. Beautiful. Awesome. Good morning, everyone. So I wanted to tell you a story today. And today's story is about an ostrich in love. And on Sunday, our ostrich was walking through the park, and he saw a beautiful lady. And he said, "Oh, I am so in love." And he was a little too shy to approach. So as she walked along, he walked behind in her footsteps. Now on Monday, he went out and gathered a bouquet of flowers, a beautiful bouquet of flowers, and he spent time wandering and contemplating each flower and its beauty and what it meant to him and what it might mean to her. And he gathered them together with thought and intention, but he was too shy to give them to her. And so he left them on her doorstep. On Tuesday, he decided to write her a song. And he wrote a song and he spent time perfecting the lyrics and the melody. And he thought at the end it was the most beautiful song he had ever heard. But alas, he was too shy to sing it to her. On Wednesday, he saw her going out to eat and saw her enjoying a meal. And he took so much pleasure in the sight of her enjoying this meal that he himself forgot to eat. On Thursday, he decided to write her a poem. And so he spent time combing through the dictionary to find the perfect word to put in each verse. It was a beautiful poem that he read over and over, but alas, too shy to read it to her. On Friday, he decided that he would make himself look nice. And so he spent time preening and getting his feathers beautiful. And he went out and bought a fine suit and looked at himself in the mirror and said, I look good. But alas, he was too shy to approach her in his fineness. On Saturday, he decided to do a little self-care and take a nap. And while he was taking this nap, he had a beautiful dream that they were waltzing together around and around. And it was a beautiful dance, him and his beloved. And when he awoke, he felt quite refreshed. On Sunday, again, he went out to the park and he saw her there. And really, he decided, I am too shy. Maybe love is not for me. But this has been a week well spent. And so I'd like to leave you with maybe it is not that end goal that we are going for, but the process, the journey that we are going through to get there. And that every day we can sprinkle with a little bit of love. Thank you.
Us as living beings. If you're on Zoom and you have someone that you would like held up during Of Our Hearts, please add their name to the chat. As humans striving toward a beloved community, we have the privilege and responsibility to hold on to each other as we live the joys and sorrows of life. We take this sacred time to acknowledge the people that we hold in our hearts, that in sharing our triumph and joy may be multiplied and our pain and sorrow may lessen their sting. We will now partake in a common UU ritual of marking our joys and sorrows by dropping a pebble in water. The pebble signifies a lightness or a burden on your heart, and the water represents the love and strength of our community to surround you, support you, and celebrate you. Today is a silent ritual, and if you have a name to lift, please write it in the book, which I'll be placing to the side of our ritual here. We will read those names after we finish this ritual. There's also a small bowl of lightly scented eucalyptus oil if you would like to anoint yourself to seal this practice. All are welcome to participate, and if you would like to, please come forward now. Reverend Tania will now drop a pebble into the bowl for those who cannot participate but want to. and a second pebble for those who want to do so anonymously. We hold you in our hearts too. Today, we hold up Ann Sustig, Dan Tossig, Merle Mitch Hillman, Erin Kabodian and Rachel, June McMillan, Grandma Betty, Aunt Diana, Nick, Aaron, Laura Marie, Eddie, Kim, and Connie Chin. Irma, is there anyone in the chat?
Yes. We have Marianne Kaiser, Dee Widener, Will, and of course, Suzanne Estrada, our lunch attendant.
May we hold all that was spoken and all that is kept in the silence of our hearts with love and compassion.
We're gonna move into singing meditation with meditation on breathing. But before we do that, I want to invite you into just a very short grounding exercise. If you feel comfortable, you may close your eyes. If not, just soften your gaze. But I want you to pay attention to the back of your body, your neck, your back, your spine, your glutes. And just feel the back of your body being held in that chair, but really allow yourself to just rest. If you need to adjust your position, you can do that. But just allow the sensation of being held. Notice how your body doesn't have to do any extra effort. And if it does, adjust. Feel the back of the chair, the bottom of the chair, the seat. And in that presence, bring your attention to your breathing as we sing meditation on breathing. You may stay seated.
You can do it. So we are going to sing this song. It may be helpful to we are going to sing the first line twice, the second line twice, and the third line through once. And then we will sing it 2 times, and you can pick whichever of the 3.
We gather as a religious community to give each of us a place where we can do the work of many. The offering supports the mission of the congregation to be a beacon of love and justice in the desert, and supports local organizations working to make our community a better place for all. Our offering this month is shared with our Camp Scholarship Fund, which can be used for Camp de Benneville Pines, which Kay mentioned earlier. Camp de Benneville Pines offers different camps and UU retreats during all 4 seasons. It can also be used for a voucher with Camp Pride Tree for LGBTQ+ youth this summer from June 27th through July 1st. This offering is a spiritual practice of generosity that our congregation does as a whole each week. Please join us as a member or a friend in this practice. The link to donate your offering will be in the chat on Zoom, and our ushers will pass plates where you can donate. And now, please join with me. With gratitude for the abundance in our own lives, we give for the life of this congregation and the benefit of the larger community. Thank you for your gifts of love and care. The reading today is an excerpt from On Love by Khalil Gibran. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. But if in your heart you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it is better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing floor into the seasonless world where you shall laugh, but not all of your laughter, and weep, but not all of your tears. Love gives not but itself, and takes not but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed. For love is sufficient unto love. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. And think not you can direct the course of love, for love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. Love has no desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love and must need and have desires, let these be your desires. To melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody into the night. To know the pain of too much tenderness. To be wounded by your own understanding of love. And to bleed love willingly and joyfully. To wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving. To rest at noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy. To return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise upon your lips. I feel like we need a gift box song. Can you? I actually thought that that's exactly how this conversation might go. If you would write one, that would be awesome. Do you remember how Blue's Clues, when they started getting mail and they had the mail song? Here's the mail that never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to whale mail. We need something like that, but for gift box. It's like an important transitional time in the service. Okay. All right. So requisite shake. What? She always gets a shake. Do you want to shake too, Leo? What?
Toy block.
Blocks.
That's what it sounds like. Maybe some sort of thing like the building blocks of life. That
Whoa, the building blocks of life. I think that's a great idea. We should do that for a future gift box. Let's you and I plan it. I did not think of building blocks of life today. Any thoughts? Or some rocks? Could be rocks. Okay, so it's pretty loud and sturdy and shakeable. All right, let's open it and take a look. Oh, careful.
they're magnets.
They're magnets. There's a bunch of them in here. All right. So, yeah, there's a lot of sushi magnets. The sushi is less important. The magnet part is important. The sushi is just because I bought those when I was traveling in Japan. Lots of magnets. We have way more magnets than we do participants in gift box. Okay, so what is the thing that we have been talking about all month? Does anyone remember in all of our services? Hi, Samuel, do you want a magnet? Yeah, there's a couple in here, and then we have a couple in our hands too. What is the theme of January? Does anybody remember? We've been talking about it now for 4 weeks in a row. Love. We have some participants from the audience, less distracted with the magnets. Okay, the theme has been love, and the box is full of magnets. So, Samuel, Alana, Leo, Ariel, anybody have any ideas of what's the connection between, oh, Ariel, Melody, sorry. Anyone have an idea of, Ariel, please come participate. Anyone have an idea of the connection between love and magnets? Have any ideas?
Each other. The magnets sort of connect to each other.
Magnets can draw each other and then connect to each other. Can anyone show an example? Samuel, do you have two magnets that are connected? Are they connecting? Yep. They stick to each other.
Repel. Sometimes magnets repel.
But sometimes magnets repel. Is there any connection there with the idea of love? You can think of? When we are a loving person and we show the world our love and we show ourselves love, what tends to be true? How does that impact our relationship with other people?
There's over and lover.
There's what? Over in the word lover. Okay, that's true. That's true. So I want you to imagine, if you get rid of the F, then it's over. It's funny. Okay, so we have two magnets here that either repel each other or they attract each other and they stick together. And when I was thinking about gift box, I was thinking about the things that we do in our lives that help other people draw nearer to us. What are the ways that we can act that help people want to be around us? What's an example of that? Be nice. Exactly what your magnet says. When we're nice people and we're loving in the world, do people want to be around us or be far away from us? They want to be near us. Yeah.
And we love them, and then they'll love us. So if we love them, they love us. So if you give, sometimes you might receive.
That's true.
What happens if that person is hard to be loved?
What happens if we have someone in our life that's difficult to love? Any ideas? Alana, yeah?
They don't have to go, then they don't have to talk to you if they don't want to.
Sometimes we have people in our lives that are a little bit more difficult to be loved. And when I flip this magnet around, this side sticks like so easy, right? But this side, I flip it around and it repels. It doesn't even want to touch each other. We're always going to have people and places and situations in our lives that it feels really easy, and it feels really easy to love them. There are always going to be parts of ourselves where it feels really easy to love those parts of ourselves. And then there's going to be places in our life where we feel more of a repelling energy, more maybe some friction. It's not so easy to love them.
So I know this person named Melissa Morgan. So Melissa Brown, and for Melissa Brown, it's like, but for another Melissa I know, Melissa Morgan, it's
A little bit like that. Yeah.
yeah.
So
And what happened was I used to live with Melissa Morgan, so it was like that hard to be like. Anyway, she moved away to Ohio, so I felt like that.
it's true. So it's a good reminder that sometimes the things that we need to love are within ourselves. Sometimes it's an invitation to love things in our community outside of ourselves, like other people. And sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's difficult. But if we think about ourselves as magnets and love as the power that we contain within us, and we can do as much as we can to bring the people around us as close as possible. Yeah? Okay. Put the magnets back in the box, please. Thanks.
I think we're good with the wisdom of the children. You don't need this. I have some memories of listening growing up in the church of my childhood, that our bodies were the temple of our soul, a sanctuary for the divine spark or presence of God that lived within us. But at the same time, I also often heard that the body, especially the female body, was sinful, unclean, and a distraction from the real spiritual work that would sanctify the soul and grant me eternal life. It wasn't until I came to Unitarian Universalism and was trained to teach our holistic sexuality program, Our Whole Lives, or OWL, that I began a different relationship with my body. In this UU space, I came across the not so radical idea that of all bodies are worthy, lovable, sacred. That's why I often share with people that this is the faith where I learned to love my body. And as a hospital chaplain, I have witnessed both the vulnerability and the resilience of the human body and the human spirit. I have been with people struggling to love themselves when their bodies pose so many challenges. To be human, to exist, means to be flesh, to have an embodied material experience. Yet, for being embodied beings living in flesh, many of us tend to think of our bodies as secondary to our thoughts and our emotions. We notice our bodies mostly when something goes wrong, whenever we cannot make the choice of looking away or not paying attention to them. They speak to us when they fall ill, when they hurt, or when we have ignored our emotions long enough and our bodies begin processing them in very physical and tangible ways. But it wasn't always like that. Have you ever seen a baby finding out they have hands and feet? Babies stare at them for long periods of time, over and over again. Our bodies were a wonder as we were discovering them and discovering what we could do and what they couldn't do for us. We were born as love and to love. Then we grew up and the wonder our bodies are became too familiar, too ordinary to capture our attention anymore. And some of the messages we received from the outside world impacted our relationship with them as well. The love we give begins in the experience within our bodies and the bodies we exist in. But love is not limited to our individual understanding of it. How do you love? How do you understand love? And where does your understanding of love come from? Just hold these questions gently for a few seconds and simply notice what they evoke in you. I Googled love and I received 24.89 billion results. Sorry, I couldn't go through all of them. And I searched books about love and Google said there were 5.8 billion results. Love is of great concern to humans. Philosophers, theologians, psychologists have concerned themselves with love. In one way or another, they all point to the multidimensionality of love. Some have created typologies of love, others a kind of hierarchy, and some a model to explain the interactions of elements that create different types of love. And I'm sure you've come across some of them, many of them. So this reflection today has been guided by some of those known thinkers and masters, their concerns guiding my own and now entering in conversation with your own concerns about love. Lay Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh has a little book titled How to Love. And in it, he describes the 4 elements of love and many other aspects of love. But I want to share with you those 4 elements. He describes them in more detail in a video. The words for the elements come from the Sanskrit, and he offers functional but not comprehensible translations for each word. And the first element is maitri, loving kindness. And he says, well, this is about you loving you and retaining your freedom. And then from that space, loving another. But as you retain your freedom, they retain your freedom, their freedoms as well. You have cultivated understanding. And so you spend time with yourself or with the other. And over time, you get to know them. You understand what's important to them, what matters, what their challenges are. The second element is karuna, compassion. The capacity to understand the suffering. So he gives this example. Well, you're like a doctor, right? And when you go to a doctor, you want the doctor to understand what's going on for you, but also to give you a cure, right? Not just to say, oh, I see what you're having, but there's nothing I can do here for you. We go to a doctor for a reason. And so he says this love, compassion helps transform the other person. You don't have to suffer. You understand, and your capacity to understand helps the other person. Now, the third element is mudita, or sympathetic joy. That is the joy that you experience when you are with someone you love. Just notice, sometimes they don't have to do anything. Just being there is enough for you to feel joyful. That's what you do with one another. And the fourth element is upeksha, equanimity or non-discrimination, he calls. Means non-discrimination. It's the highest form of love. You love the person not because of who they are, what they look like, but just because you understand that the person suffers and needs your love. This is the path of non-discrimination. Now, what gets in the way of love? What gets in your way of loving? What makes it hard for you to love? We can say that we are loved, embodied, whether we believe it or not, but how do we embody a love that is liberating, that is expansive? Well, Bell Hooks names fear as one of the obstacles that gets in the way of love. And she says, cultures of domination rely on the cultivation of fear as a way to ensure obedience. In our society, we make much of love and say little about fear. Yet we are all terribly afraid most of the time. As a culture, we are obsessed with the notion of safety. Yet we do not question why we live in states of extreme anxiety and dread. Fear is the primary force upholding structure of domination. It promotes the desire for separation, the desire not to be known. And if you look around, we have embodied fear. It is present wherever you go because fear has become profitable. There are those who have used it against us to make us buy the products that will make us feel safe. But they have also made us suspicious of others around us. Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher of the 6th century, wrote, "Being loved by someone gives you strength. Loving someone gives you courage. So love then is an antidote of fear. If we love others and we see how their suffering is being created or perpetuated by our actions, by the actions of others, or by systems, we would feel moved to fight against those oppressions. Recently, I have seen a lot of posts on social media about the lack of third spaces in our communities. Do you know what a third space is? Like church? But most people find themselves mostly in two spaces, home and work. Third spaces are the communal spaces between work and home. And this lack of third spaces is creating a greater sense of disconnection, but also feeding our fear of the other, the strangers. We don't have the spaces necessary to get to know one another and to turn strangers into friends. Disconnection opens the door to suspicion, to judgment, to discrimination, because we lack the opportunity to understand the other and to find ourselves in them, to see their suffering. I love how in places like China, in Mexico, you go to the public parks and you see people dancing. They just come together to dance or to sing or to exercise. They use those public spaces to get to know one another. And experts have already declared an epidemic of loneliness as a public health problem. We are needing one another the most, and we are finding ourselves isolated. Most adults, as much as they need them, struggle to create meaningful friendships and connections. So we have already witnessed what a lack of love does. Let's imagine what leading with love can be. Our Unitarian Universalist movement is steering in a direction of love as part of a vision for a liberated world. In the final proposed revision to Article 2, completed by the Article 2 Study Commission in October of 2023, we can read, the Unitarian Universalist Association will actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. So let's talk a little bit more about that. In her book, All About Love, Bell Hooks wrote, embracing a love ethic means that we utilize all the dimensions of love, care, commitment, trust, responsibility, respect, and knowledge in our everyday lives. We can successfully do this only by cultivating awareness. Being aware enables us to critically examine our actions to see what is needed so that we can give care, be responsible, show respect, and indicate a willingness to learn. Understanding knowledge as an essential element of love is vital because we are daily bombarded with messages that tell us love is about mystery, about that which cannot be known. So I want you to imagine a community or society that is led by a love ethic, by care, commitment, trust, responsibility, respect, and knowledge, by upeksha, non-discrimination. What would that feel like? What actions will you associate with that kind of love? Thomas Merton tells us that love is a certain special way of being alive. Love is a certain special way of being alive. And it's about embodiment, about making love tangible and visible. And at the center is this need and desire to understand ourselves and others with compassion and to live my life embodying this in my actions, in my words, in my willingness to step into unknown terrain. There's no monopoly of love. No one person or group of people can fully contain what love is and how it is expressed. We are better served by trusting that every person, every group, every community can teach us something, a different dimension of love. Thich Nhat Hanh also tells the story of a friend who took him to the Atlanta airport back in the 60s. The friend asked if she could hug him as they were saying goodbye. And Thich Nhat Hanh thought of himself, well, I'm a Zen master. It should be no problem to do that. So he said, why not? He explains that she hugged him and he pretty much just like stood there, stiff. It is not common in his culture to hug. And so as he went home reflecting about this and thought to himself, if I want to work with friends in the West, I would have to learn the culture of the West. Combining both East and West, he created the hugging meditation, bringing mindfulness into the act of a hug, inviting people to be fully present and grateful for the exchange. And while the hugging meditation is the core of his reflection in the story, to me, what is most salient is his intention to understand the other, to be in relationship with the other. His willingness to learn so that he could work with those that had different practices than his. He says that understanding is the other name of love. To embody love is to embrace intentionally our innate capacity to love. And it is to trust the wisdom that resides in our bodies. So embodied love is maitri, is loving kindness. It's my way of being in the world that seeks to offer the other freedom of being interested in the well-being of the other. Embodied love starts and lives in the body. It guides it. It is lived through. It moves. It shapes us. It softens our faces so that others can trust us. And this is true. This is scientifically true. Before we have any conscious of it, when you meet someone, your brain, your mind, your nervous system is scanning the person to figure out if that person is someone that you can trust. So yes, love can soften your bodies and faces. It slows us down so we can pay attention. It sharpens our senses so that we can listen better with our ears, with our hands, with our whole being. It's loosening up from a stiff position to a more relaxed, more fluid. It's leaning into the rhythm of the body and of life, and not just moving frantically to meet the many demands that come our way. Embodied love is curiosity and wonder, and openness to learning and growing. It's being open to make love new all the time. It's understanding that I can only know so much about love and that others hold wisdom about love that I am yet to discover. How could you make your love your spiritual discipline? What areas of your life could use some more watering of love? So as we move and commit ourselves to the spiritual discipline of love, it is important to remember that love is greater than our understanding of it. Perhaps it would be good for us to claim ourselves to be apprentices of love and of loving. This can keep us open and adaptable to the ways in which love desires to fulfill itself beyond the limitations we might impose on it. If we understand ourselves to be learners of love, we can embody a love that seeks and listens, a love that understands and that seeks to understand. And you can start from here, from the love you already know how to give. Just let it loose. Let it guide you. Let it grow. You have nothing to lose because love is inexhaustible. The more you give, the more you will have. And trust me, your heart is strong enough and large enough to hold it. So I invite you to join us for our closing hymn, There Is a Love. It's not in the hymnal, but you'll see the lyrics on the screen. And we invite you. Okay. Thank you, Nina.
Yeah, and we'll sing it through twice. The first time with me, the second time with us.
Yes.
Thanks, Maggie. As we've mentioned the past couple weeks, we are amidst the 30 Days of Love campaign, and we just ended the second week. That campaign spans the period from Martin Luther King Jr. Day through Valentine's Day, and it is a month of spiritual nourishment, political grounding, and shared practices of faith and justice. The theme for the upcoming week is possibility and bodily autonomy, specifically focusing on LGBTQIA+, reproductive, gender, and disability justice. Each week, the campaign releases a number of resources that we encourage you to explore, including personal stories, body practices, prayers, blessings, and grounding practices. It is a way to continue practicing using love and justice as the tethers that hold our community together. And you can find these resources on the Side with Love's homepage at sidewithlove.org.
I bless you, each one of you. I bless your quest for meaning and truth. I bless your commitment to justice. I bless your disposition to serve. I bless the brilliance and creativity of your minds, your heart that breaks and still knows how to keep on loving. I bless the future you will create, the sorrows you will share, the ways in which you will find yourselves deeply immersed in one another, feeling held, comforted, and belonging. May your days be glad and your song be joyful. May your eyes see like a mountain, your love be vast like the ocean, your hands ready to serve, and your spirit always ready to be captivated by the stubborn beauty, love, and hope that will not let go of you. May it be so, and blessed be.
And now join with me. We release that which is called with love and gratitude as we extinguish the flame, but not our commitment to being a beacon in the desert. May its light lead until it gathers again.
As always, we have room for 3 announcements to be read at upcoming services. So if you have an announcement to be read, please email Irma by Thursday and she'll get it to the worship team for the week. As always, please include the name of the event, date and time, contact information, and no more than a 30-word description. For today, our first announcement is that we're still looking for 2 delegates to attend the Pacific West Regional Assembly, which is either available in Denver or online. The assembly will be held on April 19th and 20th, and if you're interested in hearing more or potentially being a delegate, please see Mike Guin. Next week, we'll be kicking off a bi-monthly discussion circle to continue diving into the proposed and amended updates to Article 2. Margaret will be the host, and these discussions will be held after worship in the library on the 1st and 3rd Sundays of each month. Finally, Newcomers Chalice Circle is today, being led by Ariel, starts at noon, also in the library. Thank you, Maggie, as always, for providing the musical sounds, Rory for the wonderful story, the AV crew in the back so that those of you here and online can hear us, all of our greeters and ushers and chalice lighters and extinguishers. Thank you so much to Reverend Tania for being with us today. And most of all, thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us. Next Sunday, please join us for another New Voice. We'll have guest speaker Joe Green and the pulpit. Thank you so much for being with us today. May love embody all that you do this week.